Hey, everybody. I am Haley Gray, and I'm excited to be with you here today with Elaine Williams, my dear friend. Welcome, Elaine.
Thank you, Haley. I'm so excited to be here. I think you're one of the most brilliant, amazing human beings I've ever had the privilege of getting to hang out with. So I love every time I talk to you. I'm like, wow, pearls of wisdom, just every time.
Well, thank you. Thank you. It's always fun to chat and like connect and do this. And, we have kind of a juicy topic today about um, getting over yourself. It's not about you, or is it?
I mean,
And,
it is and it isn't, right?
right. So tell me where this is coming from, and I'll tell you where some of mine has been coming from
Okay.
lately.
So, there's a famous quote. I have my favorite quotes are like back in my studio in New Jersey, but there's a quote that goes something along the lines of, I was getting ready, and then it always seemed like I was making these plans, and then all this crazy stuff would happen, and then I'd get back to my thing, and then I realized that was part of it. Like it's all part of it. Like there's no place to get to. You just keep sort of
Mhm.
climbing along. And I love that because there's a part of me that always thinks, "Oh, I need to tweak this. I'm getting ready to get ready." Or, and I see this with my clients too, Haley, and I'm sure you do too, of just like, "Well, I'm not ready for that. I want to wait till I'm more organized." That's a great one I hear a lot. And I think what that comes from is when we're stepping into something new, a bigger version of ourselves, like going to be on more videos or going to be on bigger stages or going to be on bigger podcasts or creating new projects with people who are like really badass. There's that feeling of I'm not
Mhm.
ready or and it's like it's so easy to want to put the brakes on, right? But I think when I'm
Right.
reminded, like, Elaine, it's not about you. It's not about you being perfect. You got grays coming in, you got some new wrinkles, there's always something new with my body, it seems like. But then it's like it's not about me, it's about my mission to help other mission driven female entrepreneurs to get over themselves, to get out there on their own terms. So I think it's so human, and yet we all bump up against it, I think. So, and
Well,
what do you think?
absolutely. Well, I mean, I absolutely do see it. And I mean, and what's interesting too is, for me, one of the things I talk to a lot of people about all the time is like building a website or doing branding or building a funnel. And it's amazing to me. So, you know, I cannot tell you how often this has happened. It's just been so many times, but somebody will come to me and they're like, well, I'm a such and such a coach, and I'm not making any sales. So I think it's time for me to redo my website.
Oh, right.
And, and I'll be like, okay, so how many times have you redone your website so far? Three. Okay, so we're going to redo the website for the fourth time, hoping to do it to, you know, create sales. And I'm like, okay, so we need to have a heart to heart about like what the purpose of the website is and what marketing is and what sales is. Um, because I feel like it is extremely easy to stay in that comfort zone of
Yeah.
building a website or working on, I need to redo my logo for the 18th time. Um, no, you don't. Or, I just see it all the time, and it's every single day. I'm fixing to get ready to do a launch, to have a plan, only it never happens.
Yeah. I love that. And I used to tell people, don't go take 2 years to write your book. Don't spend a year to redo your website. Like the market is always changing and growing. And so,
Mhm.
and that this has taken me a long time, but we have a similar mentor, Katerina, and sometimes she'll say, "How are you?" And I'm like, "I'm on the field. I got grass stains. I got a scrape, a cut, a bruise, but I'm on the field. I'm
Mhm.
on the field." And that means I am genuinely connecting with my prospects, reaching out. I'm serving my clients, but I'm also having conversations about like, would you possibly think that we could work together, or let's talk about it. And I can get in that place of like, oh, I don't want to be rejected, but it's not about me. It's about, is this the right time for them to work on this stuff that I happen to be really good at helping people with? And it has nothing to do with me. I mean,
Mhm.
it has a little bit to do with me. But I just think that frees me up. In
Mhm.
Meisner, the acting technique that I studied for years and years, you focus on your partner so much. You're trying to be over in your partner's world and be with them. So your attention is off of yourself. So you're suddenly free. You're free. You're not so
Mhm.
self-conscious. It's like, Haley, you have 4 kids, right? Like, so when somebody first learns how
I
to
do.
drive, you're so you're so aware, like, "Oh my god, is everybody looking at me because I don't know how to drive?" No, but that's how we feel, right? We're so awkward. We're highly conscious that we're not good at this. And then we practice and we practice and we practice, and then when we become unconsciously competent. Some people, that's debatable, but most of us, right? So then we drive all the time and we're not even thinking, "Oh yeah, I had to do the thing, I changed the lanes, I did." It's just like this automatic thing that we do. And so that's, I like to talk about video and speaking. Like the more you do it, and it goes faster if you have a coach, the better you're going to be at it. And after a while, you won't feel so self conscious. But, I think
Mhm.
that's what our point today is like, when you can remind yourself that it's not about you anyway, it's about your mission and helping others and honoring that responsibility that you have. That helps me not worry so much about like all the little, I got wrinkles, I got gray hair, whatever.
Mhm. Right, exactly. Well, and I mean, I see it a lot where, there's a lot of hiding behind the website or the funnel or whatever, and we have to get to the perfect funnel or the perfect website or the perfect
Yeah.
brand. And it all has to be perfect before I can do anything, before anybody can see it. Um, and here's the thing, it'll never be completely perfect.
Right. Right. And Haley, I just had another aha when you were talking, like I always do when you're talking. Um, I think of it as that magic pill, right? Like what is it? Half of our country is overweight, or and if you Googled
Mhm,
those weight loss pills, there's still like thousands for sale, right? Thousands. So people keep making them because people keep buying them. And I think deep down we know I need to get up and get off the couch and exercise and maybe not eat the whole bag of potato chips or whatever, but we're still looking for that quick fix. And I think that's what happens with, well, if I have a really great funnel, I won't have to talk to people. If I have a great, sexy website, that can just sell for me. I'm not saying these are conscious thoughts, but I know that I had those a few years ago.
I hear it all the time.
Right.
I don't wanna do anything. I want my income to be completely passive.
Well, that's a
Oh, boy.
whole, yeah. It's like when people say real estate is
Right?
passive. I'm like, not in my experience. No way.
Not in mine either. But, I mean, it's just this whole thing, like, you're literally, so here's the example, right? So you're trying to build the perfect funnel that's going to attract people, but you're still gonna be basically invisible. You're not really willing to spend the money. And here's the thing, completely passive in the online world is never completely passive. Oh, I don't want to have to do anything for it. I just want money to roll in. Well, that doesn't really work.
Right.
And, you know, you want to just build an e-course and have people come and buy it, but you've never managed to sell the first one
Right.
and you struggle with sales, right? And it's just for so many reasons. And if you look at people's buying patterns, they're totally different than what you're wanting to just magically have happen. And yet people will jump onto this idea like rats on a ship because it sounds great. Like, I just don't want to have to show up. I just want somebody else to manage all of my stuff. And then I'm going to have amazing numbers and it's going to be perfect. And I never have to do anything. Well, not a,
Well, and Haley, you're reminding me of me like 5 years ago, maybe
Mhm,
longer. But I was working. I really was working in my business. I had some clients. I had a little mini group program
mhm,
going, and I'm sure I was not being efficient with all my tasks and things. And there was a
mhm.
part of me that was looking for shortcuts. And
Right.
I wasted a lot of money on a lot of time,
Mhm.
but I guess that's part of the journey. So,
Well, and I mean, I remember the time I had somebody who wanted to buy in to be a sponsor in Women's Entrepreneur Network. And the way that the sponsorships work is you basically need to post in the group every few days. And she had this funnel that she had and paid like, I don't know how much money to have developed, probably ten or $15,000. And it was
wow.
one of those funnels where people buy in and then they do this and then they do that and then they do the other. Well, so I remember sitting there in a meeting with her and she's screaming at me because this funnel isn't working and she is convinced that this thing is going to work despite all evidence to the contrary. And I'm like, well, how
Right.
much traffic have you gotten on it? Oh, well, only 100 people have looked to it. And I'm like, well, because you're not consistently driving traffic to it. Oh,
Right.
well, I've been super consistent for 2 weeks.
Right. Yeah.
Uh, the getting over yourself, right? And realizing that things take time, they take effort, they take energy, they take massive expenditure. And you have to decide if you're going to be willing to make that actual level of investment instead of I'm going to show up once, post something, and then wonder why I didn't make $1 million.
Right. Yeah. And and um and I hope that people are hearing this, like, I'm not trying to point fingers. I'm trying to share,
Mm-mm.
something that I've noticed in myself several years ago in my journey, and also in other clients too. It's like, um you still got to do the work.
You
Basically is
do. And you
what we're trying to
can't
say.
just,
It's not
yeah,
always
it doesn't,
sexy, like, it's fun to go to conferences and it's fun to go speak, right? But that's not always. It's sitting at your desk, implementing, trudging, doing some of those tedious admin kind of task things. Like, that's the part that I'm like, "Ugh," but when I
well,
do it, I
and
feel
I'll
so
give you
good.
my own example, right? I
Right,
have recently switched CRM systems, back end automation systems for my business.
right,
And one of the things that I have long struggled with are having really in depth, really strong proposals that have everything in them. Some of the copy in the website, the flows, like if somebody signs this proposal and then, having all of the things automate on the back end of it, that's never been done before in my business. So I have been for the last month or so sitting there and spending probably close to 100 hours. And I've paid
wow,
people tens of thousands of dollars over the years, and they've never managed to fully get it in any of the systems I'm in. And so now what I'm doing is working through every single tiny piece of those automations so that I have them in my business. And this is the hard stuff. The reality was that I had to realize that even though I have a contract or even though I have a proposal, I have to be the one to lay all the little micro pieces out unless I'm going to sit there with somebody and be willing to walk them through it step by painful step to make it
right,
happen. Because it's just, you know, that's part of the painful part of being in business is carefully defining all of your automations and all of your operations and doing it. And it's like that getting over myself of, I, okay, I
right,
haven't wanted to do this for the last 8 years and I've been willing to do it manually. It's time to fix that because it's holding me back.
right. I love that. There's a saying in AA that says, "Pray for the willingness to be willing." because
Mhm.
I know I can be like a little girl stomping my feet. It's not fair, And and I'm so grateful
Mhm.
for my spiritual practices like meditation and prayer and working out and stuff that help me, Elaine, get over yourself. I I I I
Yeah,
really
Haley, get
honestly,
over yourself.
yeah, like
Just
I
do it.
thought just yeah, stop, what are you committed to, right? We were talking I did an earlier interview, and we were talking about when people say, "Oh, I have to do this, I have to do that." And instead of saying, "You know what? We get to." Like, we are
Mhm.
women in America. We're so lucky. Even though this
We're so
country
privileged.
is far from perfect, but like we're so lucky that we have freedoms that we can pursue, that we own businesses. In the 70s, it was a different story. It was a completely different story. And
Mhm.
so I think I think that can be great of like, if you're a business owner and you need to be start speaking or doing videos in order to grow your business, then get over yourself and get on it. Like, stop messing around,
100%.
right?
Right, or if you need to do something in your business, a lot of people are like, "Well, I can't do it. I don't know how to do it." I
Right.
cannot tell you how many get over myself moments I've had in my business with my CRMs, with
Oh my gosh,
automation,
right.
with every single piece of my business. And so my mantra this year has just been get over yourself.
Get over
Just
yourself.
do it. Suck it
I
up,
love it.
buttercup.
Yeah. Imperfect action. Can I
You don't
share a
feel like doing
story?
that? Too bad. Poor baby.
Right.
Pat, pat, pat.
Yep.
Keep
Keep it
going.
moving. Can I share with you? So I was a keynote speaker for this conference in October last year, and I was dealing with back issues and family stuff. I got two aging parents, blah, blah, blah. Right. And I edit for my clients, and sometimes I have an editor, and sometimes I'm the editor because you find a good one and then they leave, whatever. So anyway, so then what happens to me is I go, I'm finally getting around to this. So I'm coming with like high pressure, anxious, frustrated energy, which is not conducive to creativity or fun. And then I get like
No.
mad at myself that I'm unorganized, that it's been 10 months and rant, And so I pray for the willingness to be willing. And then sometimes I tell myself, Elaine, we're just going to mess around 30 minutes. Why don't you just see if you can find some of the footage? And so, like, if I come to it with sort of like a curious, playful energy, then it's like,
Mhm.
oh my God, I found the folder, Haley. And some of them are even labeled. Oh my God. So I found a whole bunch of JPEGs for my montage. So now I just need a few video clips. I think they're in Facebook Messenger, but like I was just laughing because I feel like people can relate to big, scary projects. And I think a lot of times we
Mhm.
add to our own resistance with our self judgment and self hatred instead of saying, you know what, baby
Yeah.
girl, your life has been a shit show. It's okay. What can you do about this
Mhm.
now? Instead of beating yourself up,
Mhm.
that, oh my God, it's been 10 months and you must not be really committed and all the layers of crap I put on myself. It's like, Elaine, you're human. You've been dealing with a lot of stuff. So let's get to it now.
Mhm.
Right? So anyway,
Round
just
to it.
yeah. Yeah. Instead
Yeah.
of like, it always takes me so long. I get so I'm a recovering drama queen. I get so dramatic in my head. It's not fair. I can, and it's like, get over yourself. So I love that. I think it's gonna be my theme for the rest of the week. Elaine, get over yourself.
Right? I remember I've told myself all year, this year has been my year of suck it up, buttercup.
I love that. Oh, I love that even more. Suck it up, buttercup. Yeah. I mean, think about the Olympics, right? Like I was I we had to put my mom's cat down this weekend, which was very dramatic, very sad. I've never had to do that before. It was absolutely the time to do it because he was suffering. And then I was at the VA with my dad for 7 hours on Monday. So it was just like some really heavy, long stuff. And but I just kept thinking, okay, Elaine, like this is just a snapshot of time. It's just you get to be a part of this process. It's not always fun, but I'm showing up and I'm doing it. I'm doing it. And I think I
100%.
think every woman I know in business does extraordinary things like that every day. We just beat ourselves up for the
Right.
things we haven't gotten to yet. That's my experience.
100%. Yeah, and it's really easy to beat ourselves up for the little things.
Yeah. Yeah. And in the big picture, okay, so you wish you'd had this done before, but maybe you wouldn't have been able to travel and speak because you got this family stuff happening. Like we just never
Right.
know. So, um,
Everything happens, and I have to keep reminding myself everything happens in its own time,
yeah,
even when it doesn't feel like it.
they say God is never early, but she's never late. Or there's some weird saying about that. And I'm always like, because I'm always like, I'm impatient. I want it now. Um, yeah, I love
God
that.
grant me patience
Yeah,
now.
I need serenity now. No, yeah, and that's why I love humor too, because it helps me like slow down and take a breath. So, yeah, I mean, I think that that
Absolutely.
is part of life, Haley, is anybody who's successful does stuff when they don't want to do it. Put on your
Yeah.
big girl
Well,
panties, you
and
know?
the reality of being successful and doing things in business, and people talk a lot about joy, and joy is super important. I'm not going to lie, right? But a lot of being successful in business is doing the things you don't want to do when you don't want to do them, even though you're not feeling like it. Lord knows, I spent the last few days working through a particular tech issue with my business. And literally, I would come and I would poke at it on the computer, and then I would, try to figure out what the next step of it was. And then I'd go off and I would go clean something. And then I would come back and I would poke at it again and
Right.
just keep coming at it and coming at it and coming at it. And then I finally got it all done last night about midnight. And now I have one or two more steps to finally hook all the pieces. But I'm like, holy mackerel, that took a hot minute.
But that's amazing, and I love that. Like, when I first started my whole life, I was always like waiting tables and had a business or two and pursuing
Mhm.
acting. I was always like, okay, I've got an hour. I've got an hour before I have to go into the city or run to the airport to go to a gig, right? So when I finally quit my corporate job, I was like a dog with it chasing my tail, like, no, it's the morning. I should do this. No, 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 no. I should do this. And then in the afternoon, like I was literally, it was crazy. And so it's taken me
Mhm.
quite a while to learn how to work. And I keep working on up leveling that, right? Because I want to be the most effective and reach my most potential. And so I've learned that in the afternoon, sometimes if I can get up and walk around and move or even jump on the spin bike for a minute, it will really help me
Mhm.
reset. And that's just taken me 5 years to learn that. But how do you work best, right? So I love that you were like, this is a monster thing. I'm going to do one thing and then I'm going to go walk the dogs or whatever. Like, and you
Mhm.
trust yourself to come back and keep doing the work. I think that's what happens too is we go away for a minute and then some of us never make it back to the desk.
Oh, 100%. And sometimes, you do a little bit of procrastinating or procrastinating. And I'm at my
Yes.
cousin's house right now, dog sitting, and her stove doesn't know what happened to it. But it allows me to sit there and do things and meditatively think on
Right.
what I'm doing while my hands are moving, and kind of process, okay, so here's what needs to happen next, and here's the next step, and here's where the brain is, and all the things.
Oh my gosh, I love that. In fact, I'm reading Michelle Obama's book, The Light That We Carry, and she talks about, she didn't want to be in politics. She kind of got,
Mhm.
she made the choice, but it was like this huge disruption from what her vision had been. And I think she rose to the occasion very well. But she talks about how she would get all these
Mhm.
really, her head would be so full of racing thoughts and anxiety. And somehow she found knitting and she found that there was something, and
Yeah.
when we work with our hands it raises serotonin levels, the feel good chemicals in our brains, which makes
Mhm.
sense. Like women have been gathering together and sewing and knitting and embroidery and all the things for centuries. So she said she found that knitting helped her quiet her mind.
Yeah.
And
Needlepoint or
yeah,
weeding or baking bread. I do a lot of those things.
I love it. It's like the ritualistic of it. So, well, Haley,
Yeah, and
I
it's not
I
that
feel
I'm
like
not, like, doing technical stuff while I'm, like, kneading bread. It's kind of that
right,
dichotomy.
right. So tell me, I know people are following, they probably know who you are, but there might be some people who discover this conversation and want to know more about you. So can you just tell us, I can't even keep up with you. Like we're doing a group book and I've
We're
got
doing
to
a
edit.
group book, and it's
I
coming
need
out on December
soon.
1st, and I'm really
Okay.
excited. And I'm going to be talking a little bit about my journey with my daughter and her mental health. Um,
Oof.
and our editor said it's like, well, it sounds like you're really stuck in a really hard marriage. And I'm like, yes, it kind of is, because mental health is tough and it doesn't get better.
Mm.
And that's the hard part is a lot of people are like, oh, I hope she's feeling better now. And I'm like, that'll never be a thing. You know,
People don't understand a lot of times too.
yeah. And so I'm also a marketing strategist, and I work with a lot of people on coming up with a holistic, full marketing approach, not just like, hey, here's a website. Well, where are we doing this website? What exactly
Right.
is the purpose of this thing? And what is the appropriate level of response for this website thing so we make sure that we give you the right thing?
I love it. And you run a very close knit, huge Facebook group called
Women's
Women's,
Entrepreneur Network.
yes. And there's all
Yeah.
kinds of things going in there at all hours, right?
Well, absolutely. And that's part of the fun. And the crazy that is me, because a lot of people will ask me what my hobby is. Sometimes my hobby is work and doing crazy things with social media and marketing and stuff just for fun. Um, in between the going off and, you know, baking bread or something because I had to go figure some gnarly piece of whatever out and then come back and
Sure.
deal with it.
I love it. I
Yeah.
love
So
it. I
what
love
about
it.
you?
So, I'm a video coach and I help people work on their stage presence, signature talk, crafting your stories. And I'm also doing a community night once a month, and that is actually happening Thursday,
Mm-hmm.
August 29th. If you're hearing this after that, that's okay because we're doing it again in September. But I just thought it's going to be so fun to invite really cool entrepreneurs who are up to big things, and I love connecting. Like you, oh my gosh, you should meet him, and he should meet her, and so I do that most of the during my week anyway. So we're doing that once a month, and we had a blast. And we're talking about
Love it.
podcast guesting and how once you guested on somebody's show, you can become a huge champion for them and they can be a huge champion for you instead of like a one and done. All right, thanks, see you later. So we're going to be just talking about
Right.
ways to leverage your time anytime you're doing an interview or a podcast with people. And
I love it.
yeah, I'm excited about that. And I have a new group program starting next week. I feel like we get to go back to school too. So,
Yeah. Yeah. It's always, the thing that I didn't really appreciate when I was graduating from college the first time was that life is a journey and education and re-education and learning, continual learning is a thing. And how much we are constantly having to learn and adapt to things professionally and in business and life. And it's all a constant create and recreate and
right.
rebuild and learn and morph and change and adapt to things going on in the world.
Yeah. And learning to be okay with where you are and knowing that you're bigger than any circumstances. And yeah, there's always
Absolutely.
so many lessons. So,
Yeah. I love it. Thank you so much for being with me here today. Tell us how people would get in touch with you.
well, thank you, Haley. The easiest way is on Instagram, Elaine Williams Fun. reach out to me there, follow me, or you can go to captivatethecrowd.com and grab your free video content. Um, it's a really cool script template, and there's trainings, and it's just a
Mhm.
great place to start if you've been procrastinating. It's like, start here. This is
Love it.
super simple. Here's a script. Here's some training with it. Go. So
Love
captivatethecrowd.com.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And captivatethecrowd.com. Y'all check it out.
Thanks, Haley. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you,
Bye,
Elaine. Thank
everybody.
you. See you later.
Okay.
Bye.